Hey everybody, this is Matthew behind the camera today from Nerd News Today, and this time around we're taking a look at a new statue from Diamond Select, this one of a familiar fighter, Jean-Claude Van Damme. In case you didn't get that, from the logo right there. Today we're looking at a Jean-Claude Van Damme PVC figure diorama piece from Diamond Select. This will be the second in their series of JCVD statues. This one in particular is the Tournament PVC diorama. Why is it called the Tournament diorama? Well, because they, I guess, don't have the rights to use the names of the films or don't want to pay for those rights. But hey, fine by me, because we all know what this is very much based on. But to be safe, let's just say that this statue is inspired by the closing scenes of Kickboxer. And man, Bloodsport's pretty iconic, which was what we saw in the last statue, but I think this might be just as iconic, if not more so. You guys can argue about that in the comments here, but real quick, let's talk about this packaging here. And it's not exactly the most exciting packaging, to be quite honest, but there is at least some stuff going on here. You guys can see it. There's sort of a pattern around this window here on the front here, which, very cool by the way too. There's a pattern here which is meant to be sort of like a traditional sort of martial arts scenery kind of thing. I guess let's just call it that here. But it's meant to be very much traditional martial artsy vibe for it. It works. It's a little dark, admittedly, but it works. At least add something to the piece here. And it is dark because it basically transitions into the black part of the logo here, which also has the Jean-Claude Van Damme World logo, as well as this faux signature on the bottom. Now, since this is a PVC figure diorama piece, you get a lot of windows here, but surprisingly, the window in the front is actually quite small. I mean, here's a better look at it, top to bottom. You can see that it's actually a very tiny window. That's unusual for these sort of pieces here to have a window that small. Now, of course, there are more windows to talk about here, and you got one here on this side. You've got another window on the opposite side. And of course, you have, as always, that Diamond Select sunroof. But surprisingly, yeah, the windows are kind of small. I feel like they're typically a lot bigger on these pieces, but in the case of this statue, for whatever reason, they're just kind of diminutive. Don't know why, but there you go. So let's go ahead and show you guys the back of the box now as well. And you got just another image of our statue on top. There he is. That's how he's going to look once you take him out of the box. So great big image of our Jean-Claude Van Damme figure here. We'll see more of that in a second. As well as, well, some bio information. So again, since they don't have the rights necessarily to talk about the movie that this may or may not have been inspired by, because legally we probably shouldn't say if it is or isn't, what we do have on this piece, and it was the same with the other piece that we looked at, we just have a bio about Jean-Claude Van Damme. So there you go. We just get some more information about who he is, what he's all about, and we don't mention a single movie name because that might be a little too expensive. So yeah, there's that. But really the most important part here is that it just tells us who made this piece. And that was designed by Nelson X. Asensio, sculpted by Rocco Tardamella, and art supervised by Walid F. Al-Telbani, which I've never seen an art supervision credit before, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that that person probably works for Team Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he was helping to make sure this piece went smooth. And, for the most part, we've seen Nelson's name, we've seen Rocco's name, so we kind of know what to expect with these pieces here. But, seeing is believing. So let's go ahead and get our Jean-Claude Van Damme statue out of the box and take a closer look at him from all angles. And here is our Jean-Claude Van Damme Tournament Edition out of the packaging. And initial thoughts are, man, this is another really great version of Jean-Claude Van Damme. They are on a roll with these JCVD pieces. Let's go ahead and give you guys a quick rotation while I give you guys my first impressions about this piece. And man, yeah, I actually just pulled out my other Jean-Claude piece, one we looked at a little while ago, which was the, unnamed piece, but it was essentially the piece that was based off of Bloodsport. Because I wanted to do some comparisons, and we're going to do some comparisons as we get deeper into this, but I gotta tell you, both these statues really blow me away with how good they are. Really, I think personally, I kind of dig these a little bit more than the Bruce Lee pieces, and those were very good. I had some nitpicks about them, but those were good pieces overall. I think the Jean-Claude statues here have really upped the ante. They've resolved some of the issues I had with those Bruce Lee pieces. They make me really excited for more. But yeah, let's go ahead and start diving into things. Let's see if we can find anything else to nitpick about here, because this can't be all perfect, right? Well, let's go ahead and find out. And I think the best place to begin is where I always start these videos, and that's by talking about the likeness and asking the question, does this look like Jean-Claude Van Damme? Does this look like the muscles from Brussels? And yeah, definitely going to say yes to that. This is a really, really nice head sculpt. And it really looks good from just about any angle, too, that you can move it from. I mean, that's kind of one of the things about these pieces is usually there's like a better spot than others. But I feel like the Jean-Claude statue here, there's not really a bad angle. I think they got it. Now keep in mind too, this is a younger Jean-Claude, so it's going to look a little bit different than, let's say, modern day Jean-Claude. Makes sense, but you know, for the most part, I think they really did a great job capturing the expression, the energy, the vibe of Jean-Claude, along with the sculpting, and not easy to do. I think it really looks good from this angle, to be honest, but let's try and find, I think, the angle that really works the best from. Like, front is looking good, 3/4 to that side. I mean, I think this is actually, I think this is the side right here. It doesn't hurt that we have this nice dramatic lighting that helps it too. But you can really just kind of see from this angle here just some of the really nice sculpting work they did on its cheeks, his mouth, his lips especially. I think the eyes is where we kind of lose it a little bit, but only a little. You know, this isn't a solid 10. This isn't, you know, perfect 10. This is closer to, I'm going to say, like a 7 on sculpting, you know, at a 7 out of 10 as far as sculpting goes for the face here. This is not a digital scan of Jean-Claude's face. This is someone actually sculpting it and working that way. So overall, it looks pretty good, though. I can't complain too much. And from a distance, it's going to look even better. You know, right now we're nitpicking it from, you know, a few inches away from a camera lens, but if you're putting this on a shelf somewhere and you're a few feet away from it, it's going to be spot on. So no complaints there. Let's start talking about this pose and the rest of the statue as a whole, too. And man, this is a very jacked up, very swole version of Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, look at the muscles on this guy here. Now, does Jean-Claude actually have muscles as big as he does here in statue form? Debatable. We're not going to debate that today because we're not really here to talk about that. But what's really more important is that we're getting the vibe and the energy of the piece here, and that works just fine here. Now, since this is meant to be from Kickboxer, this is the climax of Kickboxer. This is when they wrap their hands so he can fight Tiger Tong Po in the old way, because that's how like all of his movies seem to end, is just fighting in the old way. So he's got his hands wrapped up in rope, and then he's dipped them in bits and shards of broken glass. And I think I actually want to get a closer look at that to start with, because that actually might be one of my nitpicks with the piece here. And in particular, what I'm not really a fan of with it is just the color on it. And I think the wrap itself looks fine. I think the sculpting is good on it, but the color choice that they did here, it just looks like some bits of broken M&M. Like, these are just red and green Christmas M&Ms. Now, to be fair, it's kind of difficult to do this. I'm not even going to say it's not, because, you know, green makes sense, the red makes sense, the color choices make sense. It's just hard to capture this in solid plastic form with just one pass of paint on it. You know, there's not a lot of detail on it. So again, from a distance, well, even from a distance, you know, like it does kind of stand out, maybe kind of pulls me away from it just the tiniest bit. Up close especially, that doesn't look too great as far as colors go, but what do? You know, because green makes sense, red makes sense too. If you did a deeper shade of brown, it would just start blending into the wraps, into the base of the statue, and it would just look weird. So I don't really envy the sculptors here. They had to make some tough choices, and while it might fall short a little bit, it still looks really good overall. And in fact, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the other fist as well, so you can see how that looks. Same thing. From a distance, not too bad. Up close, still a little questionable, but I think you can get away with it just fine overall. Now moving on from that tube, we'll talk a little bit more about those muscles. Look at how just enormous and rippling this bod really is. In fact, I think I want to show you from the back as well, just so you can get an idea of like just how strapping this young lad is from every angle, but also just how really nice the sculpting is on it. That goes for the legs too. The legs are a little bit obscured from this angle. We'll turn around, but I want to make sure you guys see all that. And also see his shorts there. I guess we'll call them shorts, loincloth maybe. But yeah, this is just really good to look at as far as anatomy goes, because these muscles are just bulging right out of this guy's body, and looks good to me. That looks like the way it's supposed to be. I really dig the arms also. I think they really nailed the arms on this piece here, especially from this angle here. Like this pose especially reads like Jean-Claude Van Damme. So even if maybe he looks a little bit heavier than he would have been for the film, I think the energy is there that it's fine. I'm not going to really object to it. Now here's again that loincloth from the front. Maybe I shouldn't keep that camera on there too long because I don't want to get demonetized, but check out the legs on him too. I mean, the quads, the calves. This is just really good, solid musculature. And that does bring us to the base as well, which is fairly simple. It's just this kind of dirt floor, which is accurate, right? We've got some steps in the back there. We also have the robe he would have worn here. I don't remember if that's his brother's robe or if it was his robe. I forget the whole part of that story, but robe is there. It looks a little beat up as well. Like it's kind of covered in some sand and dirt. You know, just cool, simple. Really, it kind of just there to direct your eye everywhere else. And that's why we got the brown shade. We have a bit of the blue and the red to help kind of move you around, add some pop of color to it. Now, one thing that does stand out, which is this log here. And every diamond PVC piece always has something with translucent plastic. In this case, it's this here. We got this big old torch with flames, and it's just really always good to see some flames in this piece. You know, flames go with everything, right? So yeah, just nice here. You can see it's a little bit popping right now too, because there's some backlighting as I'm lighting the statue for this video here. So yeah, with the right amount of lighting from you, you can make this fire really look like it's alive, and it adds a little bit more energy to the piece as a whole. So again, just going back down to that base for a second, you know, I wish I had more to say about it. There's a good texture on it. It's simple, it's good, it gets the job done. Not necessarily the most exciting, but that's fine, because really it just kind of makes way for the statue itself. That's kind of what matters the most here, because man, this statue looks good. Now, as promised, we are going to do a comparison here to the other Jean-Claude Van Damme statue that we got. We're going to do a side-by-side one, in fact, here. So on our left, we have Kickboxer. On our right, we have Bloodsport. The cool thing about them is actually that they do bookend, because our tournament piece here, he's facing in one direction, whereas our Jean-Claude from the other statue is facing the opposite direction. So perfect bookends. And if you get the pair of them, it's going to be great. So one thing I was curious about too was actually the size of these guys and how well they're going to look next to each other. And I think they're actually both the same exact height and size. I mean, it looks like they are, yeah. So that's cool. I'm trying to double check it now, but they look pretty much same height. I mean, the difference to me would be that the hair on the tournament piece is a little bit lighter than the hair on this piece here. But overall, both look great. I mean, if you're a martial arts collector of any kind, movies, or just actually a martial arts yourself, both these pieces are very, very great to have. They're going to really stand out, especially if you have the Bruce Lee pieces and the Matrix piece that they're doing. But yeah, these just look good. Both of them look great together. So final thoughts on our Jean-Claude Van Damme tournament fighter statue, whatever it's called. You guys know what it's really meant to be for, but yeah. Overall, final thoughts on this piece is just another really great piece. I do think that a lot of the places I mentioned where they kind of fouled it up in the Bruce Lee pieces, which were honestly likeness in some cases, I don't think they quite got that as well. I think they definitely upped that here. I think they got the pose really great, anatomy's really great. The one thing missing from this compared to the Bruce Lee pieces would be a better integration of larger, transparent, and colored pieces of plastic, because that's always a welcome addition to any statue. But as far as more just traditional grassroots action martial arts kind of stuff here, you can't go wrong with either of these Jean-Claude Van Damme statues, but this one in particular, I think it's a real knockout piece. Now, if you were only going to get one and you had to choose, I really can't make that choice for you. It just comes down to which pose you like better. But if you like this one and want to pick it up for yourself, or hey, maybe you like the other one instead that we showed you guys, go ahead and check out my affiliate links in the description of this video below. If you click on any of those links, it helps support this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. So that's our look at Diamond Select's Jean-Claude Van Damme PVC figure diorama. This is the tournament statue. I don't know if there's more statues coming on the way, but I do know that there is an action figure, and we're going to be taking a look at that very soon on this channel too. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Don't go anywhere, because we got some more videos coming out very soon.